Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. My name is Nathan and I am 42 years old. I tied the knot with my wife Olivia 10 years ago when she was 37. Our meeting was like a fated encounter that still makes my heart pound when I think back on it. It was a Sunday morning in the fall of 2013, and I had just moved to Boston to begin my new career as a corporate attorney at a prestigious law firm. Feeling slightly uneasy at being new to the city, I walked into a historic church in the center of town alone. That's where I met Olivia for the first time. She sat a few rows in front of me, her chestnut curls glowing softly in the morning light. The moment she turned around, I saw her bright brown eyes and warm smile, and in that moment, my heart raced. After the service, I worked up the courage to go up and strike up a conversation. We talked as if we had known each other for years. From that day on, we started dating frequently. Olivia is gentle and thoughtful, smart and funny, and we have a wonderful rapport. 3 years later on a spring day, I proposed to her in the Boston Public Garden. The moment I got down on one knee and pulled out the ring, Olivia burst into tears and nodded her head, "Yes, I do." At that moment, we both knew that we had found the most important person in our lives. Shortly after the wedding, Olivia became pregnant. We are all very excited to start preparing for the new life that is coming. After careful consideration, we decided that Olivia would quit her job at a nonprofit organization and become a full-time mom. The decision wasn't easy, but we believe it was the best choice for our child. Olivia is fully committed to caring for her family. She kept our Amen in Cambridge organized and prepared healthy, delicious meals for my child Dylan and me every day. I often feel happy and satisfied watching her busy body. However, as time passes, our lives are quietly changing. Olivia began to gradually gain weight, and although the change was slow, it caught her attention over time. One night, I came home from working late to find Olivia standing in front of the full-length mirror in her bedroom, crying. I rushed forward to ask, and she suddenly took off her robe and showed me her body. "Nathan, look at me. I've gotten so fat and ugly." Olivia choked back a sob. "I don't know what to do." I hugged her heartily and whispered soothingly, "Honey, you'll always be the most beautiful in my eyes. But if you're not happy with who you are now, we can work together to change." After some deliberation, Olivia decided to start working out. She joined a fancy health club on the banks of the Charles River and worked out consistently every day. At first, she was a little hesitant, but soon found the fun. At the health club, Olivia has met a group of like-minded friends, which has enriched her life. However, I had no idea that this seemingly ordinary decision would become a turning point in our married life. Olivia's new friends began encouraging her to share her fitness journey on social media, especially on Instagram. They believe that by showing off her progress, Olivia can inspire others and maybe even become an online fitness blogger. At first, Olivia wasn't thrilled with the idea. She's always been a rather low-key person, not really into showing her life to strangers. But after constant encouragement from her friends, she finally decided to give it a try and created a public Instagram account. Olivia began posting photos and videos of her workouts, including some before and after shots, as well as clips of her daily life. What none of us expected was the amount of attention her account quickly attracted. Likes and comments poured in, including some uncomfortable remarks. Looking at the messages commenting on Olivia's figure, an inexplicable uneasiness rises in me. I tried to talk to Olivia about it, but she was dismissive, saying I shouldn't care about the mean comments. I felt a little frustrated, but decided to support my wife's decision. To show my support, I offered to go to the health club with Olivia. We have adjusted our schedules to work out together early every morning. The gym was almost empty at the time, and Olivia started filming her workout videos there. However, as time went on, I noticed that Olivia's camera angles were getting weirder and weirder. In most of the shots, I felt like she was more focused on showing off her body than the fitness moves themselves. When I posed this question to her, she explained that these were professional angles that would appeal to a wider audience. I tried to tell her that I didn't like strangers judging her body, but Olivia just laughed and said I was making too big a deal out of it. There was some tension between us that day. The next morning, I didn't go to the health club with her and stayed home alone, confused and upset. In retrospect, that may have been the moment our marriage began to crack. Our communication became less and less, and the distance between us widened without us realizing it. I began to feel like I was no longer the center of gravity in Olivia's life, a feeling that left me both frustrated and heartbroken. That night, I worked up the courage to have a good conversation with Olivia about our relationship. However, the conversation did not go as I had hoped. We ended up in a heated argument, pouring out a torrent of long-accumulated grievances and misunderstandings. I tried to voice my concern. Olivia, don't you think it's a little inappropriate for an almost 40-year-old woman to show off her body online? Think about our son. Your video might get him teased at school. Olivia, however, retorted excitedly, you just don't get it. It's not just about showing off your body, it's about inspiring others. Why can't you just support me in pursuing my dreams? The argument ended with me leaving in anger. At that moment, I felt that the gulf between us seemed to become unbridgeable. I tossed and turned alone in my study, thinking about what had gone wrong in our marriage. The next day, I went to work with a heavy heart. During my lunch break, I couldn't resist opening Olivia's Instagram account. The image that caught my eye shocked me. Olivia was doing yoga poses at the gym, wearing nothing but a tight sports bra and shorts. The comments section was filled with all sorts of nasty messages. I was furious and immediately called Olivia, but she didn't answer. When I got home from work, I realized that Olivia wasn't there, and there was only a babysitter watching our son. The babysitter told me that Olivia left the house at noon and said she'd be back in the evening. I felt a strong sense of betrayal. All thoughts of trying to save the marriage evaporated in an instant. At that moment, I realized that our marriage may have come to an end. That night, Olivia didn't get home until 11 o'clock late at night. When she stumbled through the door, I was surprised to find her wearing a short sequin dress and obviously drunk. This is the Olivia I've never seen before, as if it's a stranger in front of me. I couldn't help but question, where have you been? Why are you dressed like that? Olivia just waved her hand in a daze and said vaguely, leave me alone. I'm going to sleep. I felt a surge of heartache and anger as I watched her hobble into the bedroom. What happened to our marriage? Where's the once gentle and caring Olivia? The next morning, I woke up early and decided to talk to Olivia before she went to the health club. When she walked out of the bedroom, I got right to the point. Olivia, we need to talk. Those videos of you, and last night, it's all wrong. Olivia frowned, obviously still hungover. Nathan, what are you trying to say? I pulled out my phone and showed her the uncomfortable comments. Look at these, Olivia. Do you really think this is inspiring? Have you thought about how all this might affect Dylan? Olivia's expression suddenly turned cold. You don't understand, Nathan. I am now a fitness influencer, and I need to show people my results to motivate them. That's how I work. I looked at her incredulously. You can be a role model without exposing yourself like that. Think of all the kids who might see this content and think of all the bullying Dylan could be subjected to. However, Olivia didn't seem to listen to me at all. She just said coldly, I'm going to a fan cast. With that, she walked out without looking back. I felt a deep sense of powerlessness. I paid high health club dues and this is what I created. With mixed feelings, I also went to the health club. In the locker room, I overheard someone watching Olivia live. The voices, the comments, I couldn't take it anymore. I immediately left the health club and went straight home. That day, I took a vacation and my whole being fell into a deep depression. When Olivia got home, I mustered up the last of my courage and said to her, Olivia, you have to choose between your family and these videos of you. Olivia didn't answer, just walked into the bedroom and closed the door. I felt a wave of heartbreak, as if the bond between us was completely broken at that moment. The next day, I came home and saw the babysitter again. After paying, I tried to spend some time with Dylan. We started playing his Xbox, but just then Dylan suddenly asked a question that made me fall like a stone. Dad, what are OnlyFans? Shocked, I asked him why he knew this. He told me that some of the older kids at school were talking about his mom on OnlyFans. At that moment, I felt like my whole world was falling apart. My vision became blurry. My ears perked up, and I almost fainted. Just then, the doorbell rang. I walked to the door in a trance and saw Olivia standing outside through the cat's eye. I opened the door mechanically and watched her walk straight to the bedroom without saying a word. That night, I made a decision I'll regret for the rest of my life. I logged into OnlyFans and paid to watch my wife's content. Looking at Olivia on the screen, I felt a strong sense of nausea and betrayal. This is not the Olivia I know, not the woman I love. I turned off my computer and spent the night tossing and turning in pain and despair. The next morning, I made a difficult but necessary decision. I contacted one of our law firm's divorce specialists to start the divorce process. I told him that I wanted custody of Dylan, considering Olivia's current behavior. The attorney advised me to move out of the house immediately and take Dylan out on vacation for a few days if possible. I took his advice, packed up some essentials, and drove with Dylan to the seaside town in Maine. For the next week, Dylan and I enjoyed some rare father-son time away from the chaos of Boston. We walked on the beach, went fishing, and even tried sailing. Looking at Dylan's happy smile gave me a small sense of comfort, but inside I was still filled with uncertainty about the future. I sent Olivia a short text telling her that Dylan and I were going away for a week. I didn't mention the divorce, not wanting to discuss such an important decision over the phone. This week has been both a relief and an ordeal for me. Away from the tension of Boston, I had more time to think about our marriage. I think back to the moments when Olivia and I fell in love, and those memories that were once so good are now so bitter. I don't understand how things got to this point, and I don't know when it became so difficult for us to communicate with each other. At night, when Dylan is asleep, I often sit alone on the balcony by the sea and stare at the lighthouse in the distance. I think of Olivia's once gentle smile and our walks together in the Boston Public Garden. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably as I realized that no matter how it turned out, our marriage would never be the same again. When we got back to Boston, we didn't go back to our old apartment. I rented a new apartment in Brookline near Dylan's school. Although it was far from my law firm's location, I decided to work from home as much as possible because I knew that as a single father, I needed to spend more time with Dylan. When the attorney served Olivia with the divorce papers, she reacted more violently than I expected. She started calling me nonstop, yelling at me, and accusing me of never discussing this with her. "How could you do this?" she shouted hysterically over the phone. "You never gave me a chance to explain." I calmly replied, "Olivia, I gave you a choice. You chose your new career over our family." She started abusing me and attacking me with all kinds of ugly words. I couldn't continue this conversation and had to hang up and black out her number. Over the next few days, I had to face a difficult task, explaining to Dylan what was happening. I tried to explain in a way he could understand. "Mommy and Daddy have some adult issues to work through. We may be apart for a while, but we both love you forever." Dylan is obviously upset, but I know he has to face this reality alone. I did everything I could to give him support and comfort, while also encouraging him to stay strong. As the divorce proceedings progressed, I had to make some tough decisions. I paid Olivia a sizable out-of-court fee to get custody of Dylan. It meant we had to sell our apartment in Cambridge, but Dylan's well-being was more important to me than any possessions. I opted for a one-time billing because I didn't want to have to deal with Olivia every month. It was a tough decision, but I believe it was the best choice for all of us. And just like that, Dylan and I started a new life. Although we lived in a rented apartment at first, I was confident that we would soon be able to buy our own new home in Brookline. Although the road ahead is full of challenges, I believe that if we support each other, everything will be fine. In the year since my divorce, my life has been turned upside down. Dylan and I moved into a new house in Brookline that I bought after working hard. Whenever I stand in the living room of my new home and watch the sunlight pour in through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating Dylan as he plays on the carpet, I feel an inexplicable sense of pride and satisfaction. The family, though missing one person, is full of new hope and possibilities. I began to devote myself fully to my work and to caring for Dylan. In the morning, I would prepare a healthy breakfast for Dylan and then take him to school. In the evenings, we would do our homework together and talk about our respective days. On weekends, we often go to nearby Lars Anderson Park for a picnic or host a movie marathon at our house. Little by little, I realized I was becoming a better father and Dylan was slowly finding balance in this new life. However, life isn't always smooth sailing. Sometimes, when I'm alone late at night, I can't help but think of Olivia and the times we used to spend together. Those memories are like a double-edged sword, both nostalgic and heartbreaking. I often wonder if we could have communicated better. If I could have sensed the problem earlier, would it have ended differently now? At the same time, I noticed that I was starting to attract some female attention. When I play with Dylan in the park, I often get kind smiles from single moms. Some of my coworkers even started setting me up with new friends, intentionally or not. But I always politely declined because I knew that at this point I wasn't ready to start a new relationship. For me, Dylan will always come first. Just when I thought life was on track, an unexpected phone call shattered the peace. It was a number I didn't recognize, but when I picked up the phone, I immediately recognized Olivia's voice. Nathan, her voice sounded a little tired. I want to talk to you. I took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. Olivia, what can I do for you? I. I was wondering how you and Dylan were doing. She hesitated, then snapped. Nathan, I think we should get back together. I want to go home. The words came as a bolt from the blue and froze me instantly. Trying to keep my emotions in check, I calmly said, Olivia, we're divorced. You know, it's not possible. But Nathan, her voice began to tremble. I've changed. I could give up everything to be a good wife, a good mother. Give me a chance, okay? I closed my eyes and thought back to the past year. Our separation, the pain Dylan went through, and the new life we built together. I sighed deeply. Olivia, I'm sorry, but this isn't going to work. You've done Dylan a disservice with your online behavior. I can't put him through that again. There was silence on the other end of the line for a moment, and then Olivia said softly, I understand, but Nathan, tell me, do you still love me? This question has me in deep thought. I think back to the good times we had when we fell in love in the Boston Public Garden, and I think back to those last painful days. Eventually, I replied softly, Olivia, once I loved you dearly, but now you have no place in my life. We all need to move on. After hanging up the phone, I stood in front of the window, looking out into the night and thinking. I began to wonder why Olivia would call out of the blue after a year of separation. What prompted her to want to start over? Just then, my cell phone vibrated. It was a message from workmate Ryan with a link to a podcast attached. The message reads, Nathan, you might want to check this out. With confusion, I clicked on the link. It was a podcast about online influencers, and Olivia was featured. She was sitting with several other women and was discussing their online careers. When the hosts asked Olivia why she started her online business, I was both surprised and heartbroken by her response. I started this to promote healthy living and inspire other women. I want to be a role model and show the world that women can pursue their dreams at any age. The host pressed, but Olivia, are there other ways to motivate people? Why did you choose this way? Olivia seemed stumped by the question as she stammered out a reply. I just thought it was the most direct way. People need to see real change, real effort. The host didn't let her off the hook. Some people say you do this more for attention and money. What do you think? I see a flash of panic in Olivia's eyes, but she quickly hides it. Everyone has their own opinion. I can't control what other people think. All I know is that I'm doing what I think is right. When the host asked if she was divorced because of this decision, tears suddenly welled up in Olivia's eyes. I don't regret my choice, but I did lose a lot. I miss my family. When I saw this, I turned off the video, my heart filled with mixed emotions. I was both sad for Olivia and disappointed in her stubbornness. I realized that she may still not fully understand the damage her actions have done to our family. Just as I was lost in these thoughts, Dylan came out of the room. Daddy, what are you looking at? I quickly turned off my cell phone screen and flashed a smile. Nothing, just some work stuff. Are you hungry? Want us to make some sandwiches together? I felt a warmth come over me as I watched Dylan nod excitedly. I know that our little family will stay strong no matter how much the outside world changes. I was secretly determined to create a safe, happy environment for Dylan and not let the haze of the past affect our future. That night, as I lay in bed ready to fall asleep, I thought back on all the changes that had taken place over the course of the year. I think of Olivia, the dreams we once shared, and the days of pain. But more than that, I think about my life with Dylan now and the fun times we've had together. I sighed deeply and closed my eyes. I know that life is always full of ups and downs, but as long as we face it bravely, we will always find our own happiness. With that in mind, I slowly fell into sleep, looking forward to tomorrow. The next morning, I was getting ready to take Dylan to school as usual. As we walked out of the house, Dylan suddenly took my hand. "Dad," he said hesitantly, "I heard you on the phone last night. Is it Mom?" I froze for a moment, not knowing how to respond. Finally, I knelt down, looked Dylan levelly in the eyes, and whispered, "Yes, it's Mommy. She wants to know how we're doing." A glimmer of hope flashed in Dylan's eyes. "Will she come back?" I felt a stabbing pain in my heart, but I knew I had to be honest. "No, Dylan. Mom's not coming back. But that doesn't mean she doesn't love you. Sometimes the grown-up world is complicated. But I want you to know that no matter what happens, we love you." Dylan nodded, and though there was some loss in his eyes, he gave me a brave smile. "I understand, Dad. We'll always be together, right?" "Yes, my little warrior." I hugged him tightly. "We'll always be together." After that unexpected call and seeing Olivia's podcast interview, my life seemed to be back on track. I'm fully engaged in my work and caregiving routine for Dylan, trying not to think about the disturbing past. However, fate always seems to have its own plan. Just when I thought the dust had settled, Olivia called again. This time, she used a number I didn't recognize, probably to avoid being blackballed by me. When I heard her voice, I felt a rush of mixed emotions come over me. "Nathan," her voice sounded even more tired than last time. "I know you probably don't want to hear my voice, but please give me a chance to explain." I took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. "Olivia, we've talked about this, it's over." I know, she said eagerly. "But Nathan, I really have changed. I've closed all my social media accounts and I want to start over. I want to be a good mother, a good wife." I was silent for a moment, contemplating how to respond. Eventually, I said slowly, "Olivia, I understand where you're coming from, but you have to realize that some things, once they happen, can't be undone. What happens on the internet stays there forever. Even if you close your account now, that content is still there." "But Nathan," her voice began to tremble, "can't we just start over for Dylan?" I close my eyes and think back to everything we've been through over the past year or so. I was reminded of Dylan's difficulties at school, the classmates who were pointing fingers at him because of Olivia's networking activities. I think about those sleepless nights and how I tried to help Dylan rebuild his confidence and sense of security. "Olivia," I whispered, "Dylan has been through so much. You've done him a great disservice with your choices. As a father, my responsibility is to protect him and give him a safe, stable environment. I couldn't risk him going through all that pain again." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Finally, Olivia asked, almost choking back a sob, "Nathan, tell me, do you still love me? Even just a little bit?" This question has me in deep thought. I think back to that sunny Sunday morning when we first met in the Boston Public Garden, to our romantic date on the banks of the Charles River, and to all the good times we had together. But I also think of those last agonizing days and the family that was broken because of her choices. Eventually, I replied softly, "Olivia, once I loved you dearly. The girl I met in church, the partner with whom I started a family and whom I had loved so deeply. But now that you no longer exists, we've all changed, and so has life. We need to accept that and move forward." I understand. Olivia's voice was filled with sadness. "I'm so sorry, Nathan, for everything." "I'm sorry too, Olivia," I said sincerely. "I hope you find your happiness. But right now, we need to keep some distance for Dylan's sake." After hanging up the phone, I stood in front of the window, looking out into the night and thinking. I began to think about why life takes such big turns. Why is it that some seemingly small decisions can completely change the course of a person's life? Just then, Dylan came out of the room with a math textbook in his hand. "Dad," he said timidly, "I don't quite understand a question. Can you help me?" Looking into Dylan's expectant eyes, I felt a warmth well up in me. I smiled and said, "Sure, let's have a look." Sitting at the dining room table, I patiently explained the math problems to Dylan, watching him slowly comprehend, his eyes glittering with dawning realization. I suddenly realized that this was what really mattered. No matter what has happened in the past, no matter what the future holds, the fact that we are together at this moment, supporting and learning from each other, is what is most precious. Over time, I began to notice some subtle changes in my life. I find myself appreciating every moment with Dylan even more, whether it's helping him with his homework or watching a Red Sox game together at Fenway Park. I've also started to revisit my life goals and think about what's really important. I have become more focused and productive at work. My efforts were recognized and I became a partner in the firm shortly thereafter. Not only has this resulted in a higher income, but it has also allowed me to spend more time with Dylan. Our little family is slowly finding a new balance. It was without my mom, but I did what I could to fill the void. I learned how to braid Dylan's hair, how to sew up little holes in his sweatshirt, and even learned to bake his favorite blueberry muffins. I am overwhelmed by every little improvement. Sometimes, when I see other intact families, a tinge of bitterness still floods my heart. But I am quick to remind myself that happiness is not in the form of a family, but in the love and understanding of each other. One night, as I finished reading Dylan a bedtime story and was about to leave the room, he suddenly called out to me. "Dad," he whispered, "thank you for always being there for me. I know it's hard without my mom, but I'm happy to have you." I felt my eyes water when I heard that. I hugged Dylan tightly and whispered, "Daddy is happy to have you, too. We'll always be together, okay?" Feeling the warmth of Dylan's embrace, I know that whatever challenges await us in the future, we can face them together. Life may not be perfect, but it is our own, filled with love and hope. A few months later, I met a single mom named Emma at the law firm. She was one of our clients, and we grew to know each other well on the job. Emma is gentle, caring, intelligent, independent, and very understanding of my situation as a single father. We started dating occasionally, but we were both careful not to rush the introduction of each other into our own children's lives. When I finally decided to have Emma meet Dylan, I felt both nervous and excited. To my surprise, Dylan and Emma get along well. Emma has an amazing ability to get Dylan to relax and even start talking about how much he misses his mom. I felt a warmth well up inside me as I watched them laugh and joke together. One night, when Emma left, Dylan said to me, "Daddy, I like Emma. She's nice, but she's not going to take Mom's place, is she?" I crouched down and looked Dylan flat in the eyes. "Of course not, Dylan. No one can replace your mom. Emma is a new friend who may become part of our family in the future, but it won't change the bond you have with your mom." Dylan nodded and gave me a big hug. As I lay in bed, I thought about all the experiences I had had during this time. We have come a long way from the initial pain and confusion to the peace and hope we now feel. I realize that sometimes life can hit us hard, but it's those experiences that make us stronger. I know that there is still a long road ahead, and there may be many more challenges to come, but I'm not afraid anymore. Because I realize that as long as we love each other and support each other, there is no difficulty that we cannot overcome. With such warm and determined thoughts, I slowly closed my eyes. Tomorrow is a new day, full of endless possibilities. Together, Dylan and I, and maybe Emma, we'll brave the future and write our own happy story. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.